Hey guys, so I'm trying to be live on both Facebook and Instagram at the same time, so I'm going to try to look at both cameras. But today I want to talk about cold and flu relief. Somehow it's March and we're still in cold and flu season, and I can't tell you how many calls and texts that I get from patients and friends that are having a difficult time and think that they made it through the season and get hit with the flu or cold. And I just wanted to share some of my favorite tips that I give a lot of my patients. And what I'm going to do is put in my profile a link that you just sign up with your email and you'll get my handout on all of this information for my top cold and flu relief tips. So I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff from my kitchen, and I don't have everything that I typically use for cold and flu. A lot of times I I use all of my stuff. Sorry, I was trying to read the screen at the same time. So basically my first thing and my favorite thing is very traditional naturopathic healing modality, and it's called wet socks or cold socks. There's many different ways to call it, but basically what you're going to need is a pair of normal socks. So I just usually use my normal socks, and then a pair of wool socks. You want to have nice, warm, fuzzy wool socks. What you're going to do is before you go to bed, so let's say you start feeling sick, or you are sick and you're trying to fight it and beat it. And what you can do is before bed, I like to run my bathtub a little bit, put my feet in there so it gets nice and warm. So I'm stimulating the warmth in my feet before I make them really cold. And while you do that, you can then go to your sink in your kitchen or your bathroom and put your normal socks under cold water. Some people like to make them even more cold, and I have that in the handout that you can wet them with the cold water, bring them out, and then put them in the freezer while you warm your feet up in your bath or taking a hot shower before you go to bed. So either way, when you're done with that, dry your feet off, grab your socks that are going to be wet and cold, and take them to your bedroom with your wool socks and be ready to go to bed. So you want to just put your cold, wet socks on your feet and then cover them with your wool socks, go to bed. This is going to stimulate your body to start healing. Some people say that they feel kind of like their feet are tingly. It may make you sweat more. It's going to boost your immune system and really draw healing. So it's a weird thing, but it's one of my favorites. So that's wet socks. And then I think the next thing I put is elderberry. Elderberry everything. I personally make my own elderberry syrup, but I will also buy elderberry syrup or use lozenges or things like that if I am running out. I also want to teach you guys how to make this. So at some point in the future, we'll do either like an online teaching or a couple in-person ones. But the one that I made at home, I just keep it in my fridge. I also make it into gummies, and I forgot there's some in my fridge, but that's just more for fun. And I can show you how to do that. But basically, the elderberry syrup it's proven to, or elderberry in general is proven to fight H1N1 flu, cold. It's immune stimulating, immune modulating, inflammation modulating. It's one of the best herbs. Super safe, really, really great. You can make all sorts of stuff with it, which we can do that in the future. But the elderberry syrup, typically you want to take, about a tablespoon every 2 to 3 hours if you're sick or if you feel like you're getting sick. Let's say I have a patient who comes to me and they are sick that day. I'm going to go home and I'm going to take a tablespoon preventatively just to make sure that I stay on my game. So I like the elderberry syrup that I make that we can go through another time. Otherwise, I love Honey Garden's elderberry syrup because it also has raw honey and organic apple cider vinegar and propolis. So that's bee pollen deliciousness. I will also use, so in the PDF that I will give you guys, I added some of my favorite other herbs and things. And I'm looking over here because I have a plethora of them, but some of my favorite things. Urban Moonshine is a fantastic company, and they have some really great herbal remedies and medicines that you can just order on their website. One of my go-tos is their Immune Zoom. I'm actually all out of it, but it has things that you're used to, like echinacea, but it also has elderberry, elderflower, which is also called Sambucus nigrans, ginger, cayenne. It's very, very good stuff. So they have a bunch of stuff. They have bronchial support. They have clear chest for coughs. So let's say you want to get some elderberry syrup, but then you also have a cough. At Whole Foods or Sprouts, I also really like Gaia's bronchial wellness syrup. Really, really great. You can take it on its own, or you can add it to a tea. On the note of elderberry, I also love these lozenges. You can get them Sprouts or Whole Foods, and they're elderberry and zinc and vitamin C, and they're delicious. And again, if either I'm sick or I'm around a patient who's sick, I'm just going to keep these lozenges in my purse and make sure that I'm taking them. Let's see, the next thing that I put on my list, trying to remember, you guys will get a whole handout on it, but basically it's really important to stay hydrated and to rest. It's a difficult thing when we're sick. We're very busy people, and we like to get things done and get back as soon as possible. But some of the best ways to do that are supporting your body so that you can get back to health, and adequate quality water, and also teas. So my favorite tea is traditional medicinals is fantastic. So a lot of times I'll make my own tea, and I love putting herbs together and making fun teas. But one of my go-tos is traditional medicinals Gypsy Cold Care. Really easy. Sometimes I'll even put 2 bags in water so that I'm getting a really strong tea. You can also add honey. So you're actually drawing the tea and the herbs to the area you need it. So the funny thing is, with syrups or glycerites, a lot of times you're thinking, oh no, it's very sugary. And when you're sick, you don't want to eat sugars. You don't want to, have a poor diet in any way. But when it comes to the medicinal form, so let's say the elderberry syrup, a lot of times it's half honey once you've finished your syrup. That's so that the herbs get drawn to the area where the bacteria or viruses are pulling up the most metabolic rate. So the sugar is going to be drawn to that, and then the herbs get drawn with the sugar. So it's a really cool concept between that. So anyway, you can add some honey to your tea, but just make sure you're drinking lots and lots of fluids and getting a lot of rest. One of the things is exercise versus sitting really still. So it really depends on what illness you have, and a lot of this depends on the illness that you have, and there's always different ways to support people. But I usually say light activity, maybe sauna or a nice little walk, something like that, so that you're keeping your lymph flow flowing and your immune system can work. So either way, you're going to feel better from the wet socks and the elderberry anyway. Some of my favorite go-to herbs that's in the bonus of the PDF that you guys will get is Andrographis. It's a difficult one to spell, but again, it's on your handout. And it is huge for fighting cold and flu. So they're in some of the bonuses that I put on that PDF. And okay, let's say it is the flu. Let's say that you are achy and you have a headache and you're like, oh no, this is not normal. My go-to thing, which is definitely in the more woo-woo of the naturopathic medicine, is something called oxylococcinum. Really difficult to say. You probably have seen it everywhere, as far as like Whole Foods and Sprouts. So this is oxylococcinum. My understanding from my clinicians is that it is from the original like 1918 flu that happened, and homeopathic medicine is an amazing weird science, and basically just take it. It works. It's safe. What I like to do is take 1/2 of a tube. So there's a lot of little pellets in there. You're going to take 1/2 of the whole tube, put it under your tongue, let it dissolve, and take that every 6 hours for the first like 2 to 3 days. I actually was attacked by the plague, i.e. the flu that's been going around last weekend. Week and a half ago, I was going out to Phoenix for a really awesome mastermind with Dr. Tina Moore, and Friday or really like Thursday night, once I get there, I was pretty sure I had food poisoning, and then it kind of morphed into the flu. And so I immediately started taking all of my herbs, my elderberry, did my wet socks. I got oxalococcinum, and I was fine in 2 days. Would knock on wood. So I took the 2 days and an extra day off just to make sure that I was feeling good. And then I had some light exercise on the 3rd day and have been great since. So either way, these things work. What else did I put on there? Neti pot or sinus rinses. So one of the really interesting things that happens in cold and flu season, which is typically wintertime, is that it gets cold and dry, and we probably are less active a lot of times. But then there's also the fact that, like in San Diego, we're typically pretty humid, but it's actually really dry a lot of times. We have something called Santa Anas that come through, and it gets really dry in our nasal passages and our lungs and everything. And our nasal passages need to be moist. So they need to have that protection from bacteria and viruses from adhering and getting sloughed off. So when it's dry and our immune system's a little bit compromised because we've maybe been indulging over the holidays and we have a higher state of inflammation, then we're more prone to getting infection and getting colds and flus and things like that. So I love neti potting. I don't have a ceramic one. I should get a ceramic one, but you can do that. Or one of my other favorite things is X Clear. It's a nasal rinse with xylitol. It's really, really simple. If I don't have time to neti pot, I will just use that to make sure I'm keeping my nasal passages clean, rinsing them of allergens, and keeping them moist. So basically, if you're going to neti pot, there's some great YouTube videos about it because it can be kind of challenging to figure out at first. The best tips that I can say is bending over your sink 90 degrees, tilting, keeping your mouth open, and only breathing through your mouth. As soon as you try to swallow or doing anything else, it's going to make the water go down your throat. But if you just keep your mouth open and just breathe through your mouth without swallowing until you take it off of your nose, you won't choke on it. It's super easy. But always use distilled or previously boiled water. Very, very important. You don't want to get anything that could be in our water system up your sinuses. It's not clean. So we have wet socks, we have elderberry everything, a couple of herbs I talked about, which will all be in the handout, and tea, water, keeping yourself moving. There's some really great tinctures too, a lot of time, and I put it in the handout that I'll put up there too, but the andrographis as a tincture or rapid immune boost from Herb Farm, things like that are really helpful. But the big things: stimulate your body to heal, give it the time to heal, and it'll be great. So anyway, I'm going to put a link in my profile, and I'll link it on the Facebook thing where you guys can download my PDF about cold and flu support and relief. Let me know if you have any questions, other things you want to hear about. I plan to do some more of these on different topics. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and good luck in this cold and flu season.